Elias Kaplan wiped sweat from his brow as he adjusted the atmospheric regulator in Vexora's central colony. 3 years into his 5-year contract as lead terraforming engineer, he'd grown accustomed to the planet's dense air and prismatic sunlight, but never to its customs. The Vexorans, tall, luminescent beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions, had welcomed Earth's technology but kept humans at arm's length. Their society operated under a strict caste system where marriages were political contracts, sealed between families to preserve bloodlines and power. Engineering specialist Kaplan called Jorath, his Vexoran assistant whose skin flickered a nervous yellow. "You should return to the embassy compound. There's to be a disciplinary ceremony in the square." Elias had witnessed these ceremonies before, public humiliations designed to reinforce social order. He'd been instructed to respect local customs, no matter how they churned his stomach. "I'll finish calibrating this node first," he replied, deliberately slowing his work. Jorath's skin pulsed amber with anxiety. "Please, Elias, you shouldn't witness this one." The urgency in Jorath's voice made Elias look up. Before he could respond, drums began to echo through the colony's central square. Curiosity, or perhaps something deeper, pulled him to the window. A crowd had gathered around a central platform where 6 Vexoran guards escorted a smaller figure. Even from a distance, Elias could see her skin cycling through colors of fear and defiance, deep blues and flashes of crimson. She couldn't have been more than 19 in human years. "Who is she?" Elias asked. "Talia Vexmoran," Jorath whispered. "She refused union with Archon Drell's son. She said she wished to choose her own path." The High Adjudicator's voice boomed through amplifiers. "Talia Vexmoran has dishonored her bloodline and destabilized our society's foundation. Let her punishment remind all that individual desire cannot supersede collective order." The first strike across her back made Elias flinch. Her skin flared white with pain, then settled into a resolute purple. She made no sound as the ceremonial rod struck again. "This isn't right," Elias muttered, moving toward the door. Jorath grabbed his arm. "You cannot interfere. Interplanetary law forbids." "To hell with interplanetary law," Elias growled, pulling free. He sprinted across the square, pushing through the crowd of Vexorans whose skin rippled with shock. No human had ever intervened in their ceremonies. The guards were so surprised they didn't stop him as he leapt onto the platform and positioned himself between Talia and her punisher. "Enough," he shouted, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. Talia looked up at him, her violet eyes wide with disbelief, her skin shifting to a color he'd never seen before, a deep, shimmering indigo that seemed to pull in light rather than emit it. The High Adjudicator recovered first. "Remove yourself, human. This is not your concern." "I'm making it my concern," Elias countered, helping Talia to her feet. Her body trembled against his, but her gaze remained steady. "I declare sanctuary for this woman under Section 7 of the Earth-Vexora Diplomatic Accord." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Section 7 had never been invoked, a symbolic provision allowing either species to claim protection for individuals under threat of cruel or unusual punishment by cultural standards. "You risk interplanetary incident, human," the Adjudicator warned, his skin flashing danger red. "And you risk revealing to the galaxy how you treat your own people," Elias replied, supporting Talia as they backed toward the embassy compound. "Choose carefully." As they retreated, Elias noticed something unexpected. Several Vexorans in the crowd, particularly the younger ones, had skin that had shifted to match Talia's unusual indigo, a color of rebellion. Neither Elias nor the Vexoran leadership realized it yet, but in that moment, everything had changed. The human embassy on Vexora was a modest, prefabricated structure, designed for function rather than diplomacy. As the reinforced doors sealed behind them, Elias guided Talia to the medical bay, acutely aware of her labored breathing and the warm dampness where her injuries pressed against his arm. "I need to treat your wounds," he said, helping her onto the examination table. "I'm not a doctor, but all engineers get basic medical training." Talia's skin pulsed with muted waves of blue and violet. "Why did you intervene, human? You've endangered yourself." Elias gathered antiseptic and regenerative gel from the supplies. "My name is Elias, not human, and I interfered because it was wrong." He paused, considering her eyes, multi-layered irises that seemed to contain their own galaxies. No one deserves punishment for self-determination. Her skin rippled with surprise. Your species thinks collectively, as we're told. We're individuals first, Elias replied, gently applying gel to the lacerations across her shoulders. Her skin was smoother than human skin, almost like polished stone warmed by sunlight. Earth learned long ago that forcing people into roles against their will only leads to suffering. As night fell, the embassy's communication panel flashed repeatedly. Urgent messages from Vexoran officials and Earth's ambassador demanding Elia's surrender Talia. He ignored them. Instead, they talked. Talia explained the complex lineage system that had promised her to Dren Vexcorian, son of the planet's ruling Archon. My bloodline carries old magic, she explained. The ability to commune with Vexora's core energies. Is that why your skin shows colors I've never seen on other Vexorans? Elias asked, bringing her water. She nodded, her skin shifting to that same absorptive indigo. This shade is forbidden. In the old times, it meant one who walks between worlds, neither bound to tradition nor fully rebellious. The elders say it destabilizes our harmony. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft tapping, not at the main entrance, but at a maintenance hatch Elias rarely used. Drawing his emergency sidearm, he approached cautiously. 3 Vexorans waited outside, their skin cycling through cautious greens and resolute blues. The female in front raised empty hands. We come as friends to the human who defends choice. Against his better judgment, Elias allowed them entry. The leader introduced herself as Kenna Vexloren. There are more of us than the council knows, she explained, her skin briefly flashing the forbidden indigo. Those who believe in choice in change. Talia approached them hesitantly. You risk much coming here. As did you by refusing your union, Kenna replied. As did your human protector. Elias felt Talia's hand slip into his, her skin warming where they touched. He's not my protector, she said softly. He's my ally. That night, as Vexora's 3 moons cast shifting shadows through the embassy windows, Elias made Talia a pallet near his quarters. Their fingers lingered longer than necessary as he handed her blankets, and the air between them seemed charged with unspoken possibility. Your people will come for me tomorrow, she whispered. Let them try, Elias replied, surprised by the fierce protectiveness in his voice. As he turned to leave, Talia caught his wrist. Her skin glowed with gentle pulses of rose and gold, colors he'd never seen from her before. In our stories, she said quietly, there are legends of star-crossed beings whose meeting changes worlds. Her eyes met his. I never understood until today. Elias felt something fundamental shift between them, a connection that defied the vast differences of their species and worlds. Outside, he could hear the distant sound of Vexoran voices gathering, perhaps in protest, perhaps in support. Whatever tomorrow brought, nothing would be the same again. Dawn brought crisis to the embassy doorstep. A delegation of Vexoran officials demanded Talia's return, while behind them, a growing crowd of younger Vexorans stood in silent protest, their skin collectively poolsing the forbidden indigo. Ambassador Reynolds arrived shortly after, his diplomatic shuttle landing with unnecessary force. The balding, perpetually sweating man burst into the embassy, face flushed with rage. Kaplan, do you have any idea what you've done? He shouted. The Mineral Access Treaty was days from signing. Elias stood his ground. They were publicly torturing her for refusing an arranged marriage. Cultural differences, Reynolds dismissed with a wave. You'll return the girl and make a formal apology. Woman, Talia corrected, entering the room. Not girl, and I have a name. Reynolds barely glanced at her. This isn't about you. It's entirely about her, Elias countered. About all Vexorans forced to live under these cultural differences you're so quick to accept. The embassy's back entrance opened, revealing Kenna and 7 other rebels. We must move quickly, she said. More gathered to support you, but the Archon has summoned enforcers from the outer settlements. Reynolds sputtered, this is sedition. This is revolution, Kenna corrected, her skin flashing determined copper. And you, Ambassador, have been complicit in our oppression for Earth's mining rights. That evening, they relocated to an abandoned atmospheric processing station in the crystalline highlands. As nocturnal insects hummed outside, Talia revealed her full heritage to Elias. I am the last descendant of Vexora's true ruling line, she explained, her skin rippling with ancestral gold. Before the current Archon's family seized control 3 generations ago, my bloodline guided our people through communion with the planet itself. The arranged marriage, Elias began, would legitimize their rule permanently, she finished. Many have forgotten our true history, but not all. Their hideout gradually filled with dissidents, artists, scientists, historians, all showing the forbidden indigo. They spoke of ancient Vexoran customs that celebrated individual choice and planetary harmony, traditions erased by the current regime. As plans formed around them, Elias and Talia found moments alone beside the station's observation dome. Under the swirling aurora of Vexora's magnetic field, their connection deepened. In the old language, Talia said, tracing the contours of Elias' hand with fascination, there is a word, Karieth, for when two souls recognize each other across impossible distances. Her skin began to glow with warm rose-gold pulses. When Elias touched her face, the color intensified where his fingers made contact. We're biologically different species, he whispered, even as he moved closer. Yet our spirits speak the same language, she replied. Their first kiss was tentative, a crossing of boundaries both physical and cosmic. Where their lips met, her skin illuminated like captured starlight, casting their shadows against the station walls. When they finally separated, Elias noticed something extraordinary. A faint luminescence had appeared on his own skin where they'd touched, a temporary echo of her glow. That's never happened before, she whispered, eyes wide. Their moment was interrupted when Joreth burst in, skin flashing urgent amber. The Archon knows your location, and worse, Ambassador Reynolds provided it in exchange for exclusive mining rights. Talia's gaze hardened. Then we've run out of time for hiding. What's the plan? Elias asked. Kenna stepped forward, unfolding an ancient map inscribed on flexible crystal. We return to the capital and reclaim what was stolen, not just for Talia, but for all Vexorans. Elias looked around at these rebels, then at Talia, whose touch still lingered on his skin. He had come to Vexora to build atmospheric regulators, not spark a revolution. Yet somehow, defending one woman's right to choose had escalated into something world-changing. And he wouldn't have it any other way. The capital blazed with tension as 3 factions converged. The Archon's enforcers with their militaristic crimson skin, Earth officials led by the sweating Ambassador Reynolds, and the growing rebellion, whose forbidden indigo had spread like wildfire among Vexora's youth. Elias, Talia, and the rebel leaders established their position in the ancient Temple of Harmonies, a neutral ground where, according to tradition, violence was forbidden. The massive crystal dome amplified sound in ways that made whispers audible throughout the chamber. This is your final opportunity, Engineer Kaplan, Reynolds announced, his voice trembling with barely restrained fury. Return to Earth jurisdiction immediately or face charges of inciting interplanetary conflict. Beside him, the Archon's representatives stood rigid, their skin poolsing threatening red. The female criminal will be remanded to proper authorities, their leader demanded. Talia stepped forward, her posture regal despite days of hiding. I am Talia Vexmoran, rightful harmonic guide of Vexora. It is you who have committed crimes against our people's true ways. Her skin began to glow with an intensity that made even the enforcers step back. Not just indigo now, but a shifting aurora of colors that seemed to pull energy from the very air. The human has corrupted you, the Archon's son, Dren, spat from behind his father's guards. No, Elias replied, moving to stand beside Talia. Your regime corrupted your entire world's history. We've found the ancient records your family suppressed. At his signal, Kenna and Joreth unveiled a preserved crystal codex, its surface etched with accounts of Vexora's true governance. A system where leaders were chosen for their resonance with the planet's energy, not by bloodline alone, and where unions were sacred personal choices, not political contracts. As the revelations spread through the temple and beyond via the rebels' broadcast, a remarkable transformation swept through the gathering crowd. Patches of indigo appeared on the skin of even the Archon's guards, like a contagion of truth. That night, as negotiations continued and the rebellion swelled, Elias and Talia retreated to a secluded chamber within the temple. The day's strain showed in the tired fluctuations of her bioluminescence. "If we succeed," she said quietly, "everything changes, for my people, and for us." Elias took her hands, marveling again at how they illuminated at his touch. "Are you having second thoughts?" "About the revolution? No," her eyes held his. "About us? I fear what comes after. You have Earth, I have responsibilities here." Instead of answering with words, Elias pulled her close. Their embrace deepened into something more primal, more necessary than diplomacy or revolution. As clothing gave way to skin, his tan and solid, hers luminescent and fluid, they discovered new harmonies between their different forms. Where they touched, Elia's skin briefly absorbed her light, creating patterns across his body like living constellations. Their joining transcended the biological, becoming something neither had words to describe, a union of worlds as much as bodies. Afterward, as they lay entwined beneath the crystal dome, Elias whispered, "Whatever happens tomorrow, this isn't ending." A sudden commotion interrupted them. Joreth burst in, his skin cycling through panic patterns. "Betrayal! The Archon's forces approach with weapons and—" his voice faltered. "Kenna has disappeared with the Codex." The sanctuary of the temple had been compromised, along with their evidence and their strongest ally. "We need to move," Elias said, reaching for his clothes. Talia's hand on his chest stopped him. Her expression had changed, her skin settling into a calm, determined pattern he'd never seen. "No, this ends where it began, in the colony square, with truth not hiding." "Without the Codex," Elias began. "I am the living proof," she said, her luminescence intensifying, "and it's time I stopped running." The colony square, where Talia had been punished and where Elias had first intervened, now held thousands of Vexorans. Their collective bioluminescence created a sea of indigo beneath Vexora's rising twin suns. On the elevated platform stood Talia, her skin cycling through colors so brilliant they seemed to bend light itself. Beside her, Elias watched with a mixture of pride and fear as she placed her palms against the ancient resonance stone, a ceremonial artifact the rebellion had recovered from the temple. "Children of Vexora," her voice carried across the hushed gathering. "For generations, we've lived beneath lies. Today, we reclaim our true heritage." As she spoke, the stone beneath her hands began to glow, responding to something in her touch. The phenomenon spread through the ground itself, illuminating long-dormant crystal veins that crisscrossed the entire colony in a pattern resembling neural pathways. The Archon pushed through the crowd, flanked by enforcers. "This is meaningless theater," he shouted, but his voice wavered as the ground continued to illuminate. "If I were merely performing," Talia replied calmly, "would the planet itself respond?" Behind the Archon came Ambassador Reynolds and a contingent of Earth security officers. "Kaplan," Reynolds barked, "you're under arrest for violation of the Diplomatic Non-Interference Act." Elias stood his ground. "I've interfered with oppression, not diplomacy." A commotion at the square's edge revealed Kenna being dragged forward by loyalist guards. "We found her attempting to destroy this," one announced, holding the crystal codex. The Archon smiled triumphantly. "Your co-conspirator caught destroying your supposed evidence." "Not destroying," Kenna gasped, her skin flickering defiant blue despite her injuries. "Activating." With those words, the codex in the guard's hands burst into brilliant light, projecting ancient Vexoran script across the square. Simultaneously, the crystalline pathways throughout the colony pulsed in matching rhythm. "The resonance circuits," gasped an elder in the crowd, "just as the old stories said." The projected text revealed the final truth. Earth's government had known about Vexora's true history all along. Ambassador Reynolds and his predecessors had collaborated with the Archon's family, helping suppress the planet's heritage in exchange for exclusive mining access to the resonance crystals, the most powerful energy conductors in the known galaxy. Reynolds's face drained of color as his communiques with Earth Central appeared in the projection. "This is classified information," he sputtered. "Not anymore," Elias replied. The revelation sparked an immediate transformation. Throughout the crowd, Vexoran's skin collectively shifted to the forbidden indigo, now a symbol not of rebellion but of reclamation. The Archon's enforcers, witnessing the activated resonance circuits, physical proof of the ancient stories, lowered their weapons. Without a shot fired, the revolution succeeded in hours. The Archon and Ambassador Reynolds were detained. A transitional council was formed, with Talia at its center, not as an absolute ruler, but as the first of a new generation of harmonic guides. As evening fell, Elias found Talia at the embassy's observation deck, looking toward Earth's distant sun. "The Provisional Earth government is sending new diplomats," he said, "ones who'll negotiate honestly this time." Talia's skin shimmered with complex emotions. "And you, will you return with them?" Elias took her hands, watching as his skin briefly illuminated where they touched, the phenomenon growing stronger with each contact. "Actually, the new xenobiology team has requested a liaison with direct experience of Vexoran biochemistry." Her eyes widened with understanding. "They approved your transfer." 5-year minimum assignment," he confirmed. "It seems the resonance effect between us is scientifically significant and possibly not unique. They believe other humans and Vexorans might develop similar connections with extended contact." "A harmonization of worlds," she whispered, her skin glowing with joy patterns. "Exactly," Elias said, drawing her close. "And I wanted to be the first to apply for permanent residency." Above them, Vexora's 3 moons rose in perfect alignment, an occurrence that happened once per decade. The moonlight cascaded through the crystal panels, refracting into 1,000 colors across their entwined forms, different in origin, yet increasingly harmonized. From the colony below came sounds of celebration as Vexorans embraced their reclaimed heritage. Among them walked humans, experiencing for the first time a culture based on resonance rather than domination. "The old stories were right about one thing," Talia murmured against Elias' chest. "Sometimes the greatest revolutions begin with the smallest acts of defiance." "And the greatest journeys," Elias replied, "begin when someone refuses to look away from injustice." Their kiss sealed a promise, not just between two beings, but between worlds rediscovering how to see each other as they truly were.